This is On Track, talkSPORT's weekly motorsport show. I'm John Jackson. I say this every single week. We have a huge show for you today. Lots to talk about in the world of motorsport. Obviously, Lewis Hamilton driving his first laps for Ferrari was the big talking point. Everyone seemed to have an opinion on whether he's going to do well this year, whether he looks good in the red overalls, and whether he's going to beat Charles Leclerc. I'm going to welcome my guest first of all, though. It's a guest you've probably heard from many times on this show, and you're going to hear from him loads this year across the talkSPORT network. It's former British F3 driver Piers Prior. How are you doing, Piers?
I'm good, thank you very much. Good to be on the show once again. Plenty to talk about considering there's not been a huge amount of racing yet.
Yeah, well, Lewis Hamilton racing himself and having a little incident last week was the main thing. We are going to hear from an Italian journalist who I spoke to last week. He was actually at Lewis's sort of first steps out of the garage there in Italy as he did his first laps. And I mean, you'll hear it in a while, but he went on to say just how many people had made plans to go and watch Lewis go and do these first laps. I know it's tradition for Ferrari fans to watch the drivers do that, especially when there's a new driver. And he said that he can't really remember a time where there were this many people. Maybe when Michael Schumacher had already won a couple of championships with Ferrari, but certainly not for a brand new driver. So Lewis is really endearing himself to the Italian public. What do you think of the kind of fanfare? Because it feels like it's all we've seen this week in Formula One. It's a great time to make an announcement that you want to go under the radar. If you know, Alpine maybe want to change drivers or anything like
that. Yeah, there's not really been this much hype for a driver change, certainly in my lifetime. I mean, there was a big hoo-ha when Lewis went from McLaren to Mercedes, but I don't think it was at the scale of this. I think it comes because it was such a shock to everyone when it was announced at the start of last season. And then it's been so long coming that everyone's been knowing it's there. We've been talking about it for so long. And then now it's actually happening. We've seen all very well curated, and I must say, Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari, their PR job for, this whole new era of Ferrari and Lewis Hamilton, they've absolutely nailed it. The photos, him going around the factory, of course, that infamous photo, him in front of the F40 with the windows. And have you heard the conspiracy theories about those that photo, Jonas?
Well, I discussed it with our Italian friend who we'll hear from in a while. But yeah, I mean, you can say it now because I think it's done on purpose. I'm willing to buy into that conspiracy.
If it isn't done on purpose, it's one of the biggest, coincidences ever. But the fact that there was seven windows in the background of this photo of Lewis Hamilton looking like a mafia boss in his excellently tailored suit with the F40 in the background, and then one red door, which is, people were saying if this was done deliberately with his 7 championships in the windows and then the door to the 8th, that would just be absolutely perfect. So yeah, I don't know. It was either a very happy accident or a lot of thoughts gone into it, and it's gone down an absolute treat. I mean, everyone was sharing it. I think I shared it as well on social media.
We all did, didn't we? This is going to spoil the surprise when we hear from Mario Salvini, who is our Italian friend. I should name check him. But he said that Lewis is wearing a suit that is very similar to the one he wore when he got a knighthood. And the Italian people are reading into this because fashion is so important in Italy. They're reading into that being that Lewis is valuing his first day at Ferrari as important as the day he went to Buckingham Palace. Now, whether or not that's true, it's not the same suit. We've looked into it. I've studied so many photos to make sense of it. But it is a momentous moment. And obviously for Lewis, he's always loved Ferrari. That's his favourite car. He's really soaking up all of this. How would he have been feeling as a driver going out on that very foggy day, on that very cold tyres, on that very wet track with loads of people watching? I know he's not going at speeds, but he's going to want to put on a show, but he's also not going to want to stack it because that would go down in history more than the photo.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, I think a driver of Lewis's experience and he's getting on for his 40s. He's an established man. He's not a young pup anymore. The actual act of driving a Formula One car to him isn't hugely exciting, I would imagine. I mean, to me, it would be epic, but obviously he's been doing it for so long. So getting in the car and actually driving around Fiorano, it's a track that they're never going to race at. It's quite fiddly. It's a bit too small for a Formula One car, really. It's more him bedding himself in with the team that's important. And also the momentous occasion of him, of course, now finally being with Ferrari, meeting the team and getting to know everyone. That's more important to him. And he's, as we've seen in the last 4 or 5 years, he's a very thoughtful man now. He's very considered. He's very mindful. He's definitely gone on a journey through his career. Very, as some would say, demure. And I think he's taking it all in. It's a dream of his since he was genuinely a kid that he wants to race for Ferrari. It's now happening. You can see that when he's walking around the factory from the videos we've seen, he's meeting everyone, taking it in, taking time to listen to people. Because ultimately, that's what he wants to do. He wants to join Ferrari and make it a success if it's possible. He's up against a formidable teammate, and I'm sure there'll be many, many chats about him versus Charles Leclerc. But yeah, he's probably just taking it all in, trying to understand as much as he can. I don't know whether he's trying to learn Italian or not, because that's probably going to be a bit of a stumbling block or a potential thing that he's going to have to negotiate throughout his first season in Ferrari.
I think we've heard a few words of Italian from Lewis, but you would have thought that Lewis is so measured in everything he does, not even just driving, in his fashion and in the sort of causes he supports and the brands he works with. Everything is considered. I think he will have been learning Italian. We obviously have Angela back, which is a big story for Lewis, because he had all of his success, well, not all of his success, but a large part of his success was when Angela Cullen was alongside him as his, I mean, I don't know what her official role even was. Physiotherapist, PA, best mate, like just, right-hand woman, like everything. And she obviously parted company with Lewis, wanted to go and do some other things. They've been skydiving together. They've done everything together. She's obviously had some time away. I would imagine that Lewis has always left the door open for her, the red door. And I think Lewis is just assembling the best possible team. It's kind of, I've never really watched Marvel stuff, but it's a bit like the Avengers. He's getting everyone he wants around him. So she brings whatever comforts him and keeps him focused, and obviously her skills as a physio and whatever. He's obviously going to get great mechanics at Ferrari. He's going to have a car that they're going to hope will get him another championship. And it feels like he needed a bit of a change and a new lease of life. And actually, if everything falls into place, could this be the year? I'm just going to ask you straight up now.
As much as I would love so much for Lewis Hamilton to win his 8th championship this year. I think it's unlikely. I think his first year in Ferrari, potentially, I think Charles might have the edge this year. I don't know. It pains me to say, but Charles embedded in there. He's young driver hungry, undoubtedly rapid. Lewis, we've seen even last year in the races, he's an absolute animal, but sometimes lacking a little bit of one lap pace, potentially down to age. But from my career as a driver, having been a driver, have that as my sole focus, and then move more into the media side of things, and sort of reflected on my own career and looking outwardly in at other drivers. When you're driving and when you're a young racing driver, you think that your skill on circuit, your talent, shall we say, is like 90% of the equation, and the last 10% is kind of your equipment around you, the people around you, your environment. But actually, having looked back on my career and applying that to this situation, I think it's the other way around. I think that the first 90% of performance is the team around you, the car you're driving, how happy you are, your contentness, your communication, everything else. And then your talent and speed and skill is the last 10% that gives you the results. So I think the fact that he's got Angela back in, I think that he seems happy. He really wants to be in this team. You can see that he's excited for it, like visibly on his face, for such a calm and, as you put it, demure man. You can see he's loving it. He's absolutely loving it. It's his dream. I did quite enjoy seeing all the conspiracies, what with the door photo, and also Angela skiing with the 44 in the background. You could tell there's not a huge amount of racing going on when the journalists are digging all that out. But
it wasn't also the hardest thing to work out, really.
Yeah, exactly. But no,
I think the first time we saw her was on one of the photos of him getting ready to go in the car for the first time.
Yeah.
And she was just in the background, and that was also very considered. I think, obviously, he's gone on now, and they're driving a 2023 car. I'm sure, if you're a motorsports fan, F1 fan, you know this. It's a 2023 car. It's the newest car that he can drive at this stage while cars are being developed. I was actually at Aston Martin the other week, and obviously, cars are currently in development. And as I went to my car, I heard them firing up engines. Just saying. Obviously, I couldn't record it and I can't play it to you, but I did hear it. So stuff's going on. A little sidestep there to Aston Martin. When it comes to getting into the new car, I think then maybe we'll tell what he's like and what his pace is like. But it's, testing is limited, and that's why they've gone over to Spain now to continue testing. And obviously, Lewis had a small moment with the car last week, which was a little bit tricky. But I mean, for him, he's obviously pushing it from the start, you would say.
Absolutely, no doubt. Again, we come back to his experience. He can drive a Formula One car. There's absolutely no doubt about that. And I'm sure there'll be articles being flamboyant, both negatively and positively, about some saying he's going to be terrible, some saying he's going to walk walk away with, the championship or walk away from Charles Leclerc. I think it'll be somewhere in the middle. His speed, the final 10th or so, that's to be confirmed, but he's going to be a match for Charles Leclerc, pretty close in the races, especially. It's a given, it's not going to be anything crazy. I think so. As much as a lot of people would like to say one way or the other, I think it's going to be nip and tuck between Charles and Lewis this year, and he'll be pushing from day one, and it's clearly has been pushing, as we saw from the few clips we saw at Fiorano with the car squirming around in the wet, and then was clearly pushing on to have had that error at Barcelona.
As much as I don't need to tell you this, I'm going to tell you anyway, because you're a driver, you'll know this, that a bit of competitiveness is what they want. That's what pushes you to achieve those better times. So that's going to be great. Let's just move on from Lewis, because we will hear from Mario Salvini from Gazzetta dello Sport very soon, who was there as Lewis made his first laps around that practice track. We're going to talk about another team and another driver that might be feeling a little bit uneasy, because we've been seeing other drivers arriving at facilities for the first time. I've seen the Carlos Sainz one, and there was a Pierre Gasly one I saw where he's got his buzz cut, and they're like showing them arriving for their first day of the season, and there's no attention on it because everyone's thinking about Lewis. What's Jack doing thinking right now, knowing that there's pictures of Flavio Briatore and Franco Colapinto, who's now signed up for a multi-year deal as their reserve driver, with big suggestions that should Jack put one foot wrong, Franco and his huge following from South America will be chucked into that seat? It can't be a good place to be, knowing that your opening race in Australia is probably going to be the highlight of your F1 career.
I mean, that's strong words. I think we should give the guy a chance. He's maybe not had the junior career of a lot of the drivers that have joined Formula One and had success recently, like, Piastri, Leclerc, Russell. But there's no doubt he's a good racing driver. We'll give him a chance. Some drivers flourish in Formula One, and some drivers flourish before Formula One and get there and then can't get the job done. So, I just hope that Flavio, as much as he is a decisive man and doesn't mind rustling a few feathers, I hope that he gets a fair chance. Because as much as, a lot of people have said, maybe Doohan wasn't potentially the right choice, or the people are expecting him to move on early, it would be unfair even from Flavio Briatore to not give him at least half a season, in my opinion. But it doesn't exactly fill you with confidence, does it, when you've got a man like Flavio signing up a reserve driver on a multi-year contract, which is not the most usual thing, and that said driver has already shown pretty well in Formula One and has a fairly high stock at the moment in replacing drivers.
And also comes with a lot of sponsorship possibilities. And I think this is the worrying thing for Jack Doohan, that Franco Colapinto has money behind him. He's got the whole of South America that would be interested in getting involved. There are going to be more eyes from South America on Formula One. Not that there needs to ever be, but with a Brazilian driver back on the grid in Gabriel Bortoleto, that's going to be a huge deal. So you've got Argentina versus Brazil. That's amazing.
And let's not forget also, Flavio Briatore is first a businessman. He was in business before he was in Formula One, had success in Formula One, left Formula One when he was, just elbowed out, was continuing to run successful businesses. He views Formula One like a business. I've listened to podcasts with him. He said, I run my Formula One teams like a business. It's to him, the sport is almost secondary. So if there's a big old wad of cash, then I don't imagine Flavio is going to be letting that go untapped, should we say.
Look, we'll see if he gets a half season. You might think he deserves it. I don't think it's actually going to happen, but we'll check back in. But that's great to chat to you, Piers. We're going to hear from you more across the talkSPORT network this year, this season, and hopefully get some of your driving expertise to maybe talk us through some of the tracks and also all the big moments from races. We're going to get your expert opinion on who was in the wrong, which hopefully, if it continues like it kind of ended last year, we'll be speaking to you quite a lot. And next up, we're going to hear from Mario Salvini as we continue our conversation about Lewis Hamilton. He is from La Gazzetta dello Sport. I hope I've done that some justice in my terrible Italian. And he was there to watch Lewis go around that track for the very first time in the famous Ferrari car. You're listening to On Track here on talkSPORT. Mario Salvini is from La Gazzetta dello Sport, and he joins me right now. And Mario, you've been in Maranello today to see Lewis Hamilton for the first time with all the fans that were braving the cold temperatures.
Yeah, actually, I was in Maranello since yesterday because the hype was so high, and we didn't know exactly if the first day on a car it would be today or maybe it could be yesterday as well. So we were waiting since yesterday morning on the bridge in the only point from the street from where you can have a look on a part of the track. Is something like a tradition when the season begins and when some new driver are coming. Well, new drivers are coming in at Ferrari. The tifosi used to go on that bridge to see the first laps. And today, a lot of people told me that they never seen anything like that. Maybe the last years of Michael Schumacher he was like God after 3-4 world championship with Ferrari. But for sure, in the last 25 years, nobody has seen nothing like that. There were maybe 1,000 or maybe more people on that bridge.
Wow.
Well, yeah, a lot of them were there from very early in the morning. Someone from 5:30 in the morning, and he starts the first lap. Everybody were looking at the watch after the video, looking at the watch to see the exact time. That was 9:16, and in the first lap of Lewis Hamilton, and I think that you have an idea of the about the hype that we have here in Italy.
How does this compare then to, we've seen Sebastian Vettel when he went to Ferrari, and you mentioned Michael Schumacher. This is much bigger than those two?
For sure, it's much bigger with Sebastian Vettel. I don't know exactly what happened when Michael Schumacher started. For sure, the first laps of every season after season, probably could be compared, but the first season probably not. Michael Schumacher had two titles, 2 world championships before coming in Ferrari. As we know, Lewis Hamilton has 7, and he's the most driver of the Formula One history, I guess.
Yeah, Lewis obviously comes in with his 7 world titles. And the first thing we saw of Lewis Hamilton then, as he started his new job at Ferrari, was that picture, which has become an instantly iconic photograph of him outside Enzo's house. He's got the Ferrari F40 behind him. He's looking great in his fashionable clothing. I mean, you can give me some tips on whether you think that his look was good, because Italians love their fashion. And I mean, that got everyone so excited, didn't it? What did you make of that photo? It does seem like it's now a historical photo 2 days later.
Is exactly historical, as you said perfectly, and is already a story. Just a picture is a story. Is a lot of things that has to do with Lewis can become stories that become gold for all of us. This picture is fantastic. It has inside a lot of symbolism, and is not. Of course, the dress, and you thought about the passion that we have here in Italy for fashion. I don't know if it's true, but I think so. Was exactly the same dress that he had when he became Sir.
Right. So, okay.
Symbolism that he was saying, I give the same importance to Ferrari and Maranello that I gave to Buckingham Palace. It could be.
Wow.
You can see the Enzo Ferrari house and office, but you see 7 windows like the titles, 7 windows and a door to go through, and you have a Ferrari. It was not the first Ferrari they find out in the park, but it was a F40, exactly like the 40 here, of Lewis. I don't know. I'm sorry for my English. I guess that it is not the correct way to say, but you understand me perfectly.
I understand. Yeah, he said it's his favorite car before.
So it's goosebumping, isn't it? It's already a story, and you find that the picture has 5 million, 5.2 million is the most with likes. He's the picture with more likes in Formula One, for Ferrari, for Lewis, for everybody together. So we even before going for the first time on a car. So not bad.
It's not bad at all. It's not bad at all. There were also photos today I saw, and I think this may go down very well with Italians, that his mum and his dad were also there, and we saw that Lewis was brought round to the fans so that he could greet the fans that were waiting with you, and his mum and dad were there, and we know that family is incredibly important to everyone, but Italians especially. So that's another connection that maybe he's got with the Italian public.
Yeah, for sure. But I guess, and I like to think that Lewis considered the moment so important for his life, not just for the driver life. I mean, for life. If it's true that he always had the dream to dress the Ferrari red, today was the day, and he wanted to have his mom with him.
The thing I love is that his mum, he's got all his social media team there, but his mum is still taking her own.
Taking picture, yeah, is like the mom with a kid on a cart.
Yeah, exactly. So like the first time he got in a cart, and now this moment where he's 40 years old and he's getting in a Ferrari, that's just the same. It's the same moment, and it's the same importance to her. For her, it's just taking photos of her son doing what he loves, and I think that's really, really special. So my question for you is that we've obviously had loads of media coverage in the United Kingdom. Were there any British fans amongst the Tifosi over there? Because I've seen you speaking to Italians and they were loving it, but were there any Brits there?
I found a couple of them yesterday. I did this, but today there were so many. You couldn't walk on the bridge. On the side of the bridge, the side of the bridge is supposed to be a bike path, but no bike could go through today for sure. And I see a couple of British yesterday. I saw yesterday there was a mom and a daughter from Hungary, and they came for the Ferrari museum. But they didn't want to the museum. They had a book. They booked the book for museum, but they were on the bridge whole day. Even we didn't see Lewis yesterday. And today I saw three girls from Indonesia.
Wow.
and they told me is one an occasion, is once in your life that you can see something historic like the first day of Lewis Hamilton on Ferrari. And you're right. And they were, I have to say that they were already in Italy, but instead of to go to Rome, Florence, or Venice, like all the tourists, they went to Maranello. And I have to say that Maranello is not the first city that you would like to see. It's not so bad, of course, but probably we have something better to see in Italy. But they were on that bridge, and it was quite cold, I have to say. And it was raining as well this morning.
It looked very foggy as well. I was going to say, you don't come all the way to the Ferrari Museum and look at history when there's history in front of you. The history is happening right now. And it seems Lewis Hamilton is the biggest attraction in the whole of Italy.
Okay. Yes.
What do the Italian fans then, looking ahead to the season, what do they think is possible between, a 7-time world champion and the most famous racing team in any series in the world? Do they think that success is on the way, that 8th world title?
Oh, the Ferrari Tifosi every year started thinking that something good is coming. and are they in the middle of the year, or maybe going through the season? Usually we say we will it will be next year, of course. But when we start, we used to say that we will see something good, and something good is coming. But I have to say that Ferrari finished very well the 2024 season. After the break during the 2024 season, after the break, starting from Zandvoort, Charles has had more points than anybody. So, given that the cars will be more or less the same, so it will be the last year of this regulation. Ferrari, I guess, and I think that Ferrari could be very competitive.
I think they've got a good chance, and I think actually it's
with both drivers. And
yes,
of course, with Lewis, it would be the story.
It would be magical. I actually think it could help Charles as well, because all the focus is on Lewis, and he can just focus on what he's doing, possibly.
Exactly. He is, and we know that Charles is a very good driver.
Yeah, we know he can do it, and we know Lewis Hamilton can do it, and we look forward to seeing more. Obviously, we've got testing coming up soon, and I'm sure there'll be more and more photos of Lewis. There'll be inevitably brands coming out. I saw he had the Richard Mille watch on today, which is, new for Lewis. He's been with a different watch brand for many, many years now, and I'm just excited to see what happens this season, and I'm sure you are as well. Mary, thank you very much for joining me, and hopefully we'll catch up with you as the season goes on.
And thank you very much, and thank you very much to speak slowly to me.
Hey, I'll speak as slowly as you like. And thank you very much for your videos as well. I very much appreciate that.
Grazie, Don. A presto.